You're listening to E-commerce Fastlane, the podcast show to help you build, manage, grow, and scale a successful and thriving company, powered by Shopify. Listen to real conversations with partners and subject matter experts as they share proven practical strategies, platforms, and the best Shopify apps to help you accelerate your business. The time is now for you to improve efficiencies, grow revenue, profit, and lifetime customer loyalty. Please welcome your host, startup founder and strategic advisor, Steve Hutt.
Welcome back to another episode of E-commerce Fastlane. I'm your host, Steve Hutt. I'm thrilled today to introduce my guest. His name is Sabir Samarkand, and he is the founder of a company called Growth by Sabir, and it's growthbysabir.com. Now, he truly is an e-commerce veteran. He's been in this business, I think, for almost 25 years. Sabir, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Steve.
This is great. I'm so excited, because, we are, as I mentioned, top of the show, this is Q4 right now. This is the make or break for a lot of brands. And I think brands are hungry right now to figure out, am I doing and am I pulling all the right levers to make sure that I have a very successful Q4? And then what does that help, that momentum? Does it help me moving into 2025? And the short answer is yes. So I want to talk a little bit about Growth by Sabir, like the business. And I want to talk a bit about this Rapid 2X program. So can you share a little bit about your background story, just so we kind of set the stage first, and then we'll kind of get into the 2X program?
Sure. So I launched Growth by Sabir several years ago, but I've been in the e-commerce business and helping a lot of brands. The Vitamin Shop, Ashley Stewart, Carol's Daughter, so many of them. I worked with so many celebrities like will.i.am and Gary Vaynerchuk, and brands like even top household brands like Sour Patch Kids and so on and so forth, including now I focus a lot on brands that are entrepreneur, founder-led, and they are trying to grow. And as they're growing, they're going through their growing pains, unfortunately, right?
Right.
And it's part of the journey, right, Steve? I mean, you've been there too, based on the conversation you and I had just before we started recording, right? So unfortunately, as an entrepreneur, you go through that depressive moments and anxiety and mental health, because one day things are good and you feel good, and the other day, when things are not great, you feel depressed. And when you enter Q4, that's a roller coaster, of emotions. Not only you're trying to get your business right, your e-com business right, your Shopify store right, you're also trying to juggle the competitiveness of Meta ads and Google ads and TikTok and even email marketing, even the organic channels, trying to make it into that inbox. All of those things add up. If your foundation is not set correctly, you end up suffering from all ends. Your email deliverability suffers, your ROAS on Meta and Google suffer. Because of that, what I did was, over the past 25 years, and I've been growing e-com businesses, and I have like over $1 billion to my, incremental revenue to my credit, across multiple categories and so on. And what I drafted from it is this 8D method that focuses on 8 dimensions of e-commerce that you need to get it right. And this is, to start with, it is foundational and strategy, so that this compounds. Any growth you experience through the 8D method compounds over time. And businesses, we can go through a lot of great case studies in 2024, highly relevant to our current economic times and the challenges everybody's facing with AI and so on and so forth. Highly, highly relevant, case studies that we can definitely explore during this conversation. And I can go more into what the 8D method is.
Yeah, I did a tiny bit of research kind of before recording, and you definitely are on the money about what exactly this kind of rapid 2X kind of, I'd call it like an accelerator program you have, and then how you're able to implement these 8 dimensions. And I have a little screen thing that I actually printed off, and I'm going to put it on my wall here and so it's so interesting kind of what you've built. So let's talk, I want to talk first about about the Rapid 2X program itself. Like I want to understand, because I know that there is the 8D method, but that's kind of part of the learning process that comes by being involved with the Rapid 2X program. So can you share kind of the differences between these two? And let's talk a bit about Rapid 2X.
Sure. So the 8D method is a methodology. It's a framework, right? So,
right.
And I have published a book on it so that people can, entrepreneurs can definitely go to growthbysabir.com and find the link to the book and they can get it, to your audience, they can go and get it complimentary from us, to learn the 8D method. And 8D stands for 8 dimensions of e-commerce, right?
Right.
So they can get the book, they can learn from it, and they can start implementing it. But the entrepreneurs who are very serious about growth and they want to make sure that it is being implemented correctly, they join the Rapid 2X. It's a paid program. They join the Rapid 2X program, and the initial phase of the Rapid 2X is 3 weeks. It's 21 days. And in those 21 days, we clear stuff up so that the business is, ready for growth. And year to date, all the Rapid 2Xers that have participated, and there are a lot of e-com businesses, Shopify businesses that have gone through this program, on average, they have seen 103.34% growth in 21 days compared to last year, same period. So that's the type of a growth that you see. This is serious growth. This is not 5-10% growth that other retailers talk about. This is pretty serious growth. And with it, from there, after the first 3 weeks of performance optimization, which is the first dimension that we look at the entire stack of things that you have, marketing stack, tech stack, everything you have. How can we take the existing business as is? Because you have done a great job of up to this point, right? You've made certain decisions. If certain decisions are not so great, when you go through these 3 weeks, we work with you to kind of get out of those decisions, I'll give you a typical example. And Steve, you said that you do have background in Shopify, right? On average, what I see, and this is in 2024, I see in Shopify stores, Shopify owners, store owners, they install between 20 to 30 apps in their Shopify store. That's average.
Right. I know, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. And you know what's ironic? I'll give you this. This is the part that's very funny, Steve. They install I'll give you an example. This one Shopify store owner had 3 live chats apps installed on their site. And the irony, Steve, is that the site did not have live chat.
But they're having a monthly bill for 3 apps they're not even using.
Yeah. And some of those bills, they add up. Even if you go, it's just $10 a month. $10 a month is $120 a year. You can take your spouse to Nobu and have a nice sushi,
Exactly. Exactly.
That's what you're costing at $10, where you think it's a small decision. But in some worst cases I've seen, like multiple review apps, multiple analytics or stuff like that. And the irony is it's not even being utilized properly. That's on the expense side of it. The other side that hurts your business is performance, right? When you load up these 100%. Many apps, each one of them have their own stack of JavaScripts that need to be loaded, the logic that it needs to run through, the structure of your page, all of that stuff, it hurts your performance. And knowing in 2024, the consumer attention span is 1.7 seconds. If you don't make your point in 1.7 seconds with a consumer from 2024, that's where you're going to get gigantic bounce rate. That's where you're going to get very poor conversion rate. You're going to get very low ROAS, right? All of the buzzwords that a lot of agencies use, but they try to fix, like, for example, ad agencies try to fix the problem on the front end. We need a better creative. We need a better copy. We need a better CTA. The thing is, after they consume that ad, they click on something to get to your landing page. If your site is not set up for success, it doesn't matter how great the creative is. Let's say Gary Vaynerchuk sat there and actually directed the ad, to make it happen. If your site is not set up for success, it's not going to succeed.
Right. You make a really good point about the speed thing. And it's funny because being inside Shopify for all these years, one of the first things I did when I took on a new account, and it's exactly what you're talking about here, is I would do an app audit. And I would say, okay, Can you please tell me from top to bottom why you're choosing what you're choosing? And a lot of times, because team members come and go, it turns out to be a little bit of a duct tape kind of situation going on where, it's a use case of somebody needed something to do something. And now that person's not even with the company anymore, and they're not even using it anymore, or they've changed and they haven't removed it. And I think that's a really leaky bucket. That's one thing. And I think you're right on the money with double checking to make sure and make sure that the apps that are there are the ones you actually need. The other thing to think about when you said about speed, I'd also argue too that one other advantage of having a fast running site is the SEO benefits you get, because we know that Google gives preferential treatment. It's a ranking factor about having the best they want to show websites that when someone actually goes to them, they actually work and they're fast and they're snappy. And, there's a whole community of people just trying to figure out, how do we make our site faster? Well, part of it in Shopify's world, they try their best from a hosting perspective, being on Google's cloud and all that sort of things. But you're right. All this extra JavaScript, can we condense things down to maybe just some custom programming, or maybe there's a Swiss Army knife of a type of a solution or an app that does a lot of things. It does SMS, it does email, and it does some personalization for you instead of having 3 different apps. So that's my take.
Or they come up with, the other part of the problem comes from, they watch a lot of TikTok, right? And somebody says, oh, this is a pretty cool app. You should install this thing, right? And then they install it. They don't realize that they have already installed 3 other apps that are very similar to this app they just installed, right?
Yeah.
And just to kind of elaborate on what you said earlier, it's also by design. I think entrepreneurs hire and fire people, right? Whether it's people or agencies or freelancers or
100%.
Fivers or Upworkers or LinkedIn people or people from the network. Everyone comes with a baggage of opinion, right? And that opinion becomes an install on the Shopify platform, right? In the form of an app, right? Some sort of an app you're installing.
Right.
Or if they're really sophisticated, very fancy, what do? Oh yeah, you need a Google Tag Manager. Install the Google Tag Manager, give me access, and I'm going to install a bunch of tags. And that's another leaky faucet that you don't even see where the leak is in the pipe, because that's another whole set of another pipe that you just installed and a mess, Yeah. And when you do that, because the thing is, this is why the Rapid 2X and the 8D methodology, right, looks at the root of the problem. Anything we attack in the 8D method, we look at the root of the problem, and let's try to eliminate the root of the problem. Right? Once you eliminate the root, what happens? And you actually hit the nail on the head. When you answer and fix the speed problem, it's not just that the site is faster. It improves bounce rate. It improves your SEO score. It improves your ranking. It improves your, conversion rate. And this is the odd thing, right? You made the site faster. You would think that people will get in and get out quickly. Your session duration goes up. It doesn't go down. It goes up. People are willing to engage with you more. And more on top of that, the thing is, you're testing your site sitting on you and I were arguing earlier who has the faster bandwidth, right? 1 gig over 3 gig, right?
Right.
But the frank truth is, your consumers are on mobile devices. 83% of your traffic is mobile.
Right.
So if they are on 4G or 4G LTE, they're not on a very fast network.
Right.
And on top of it, the resolution is a tiny screen, right?
Yeah.
It's a tiny screen where, when you're looking at your desktop and your web designer is doing a Zoom call with you to show you how beautiful your site looks, right? It should not matter to you. What you're looking at is less than 20% of your site traffic and your revenue, right? You need to optimize for that mobile device. And gone are the days and old phraseology like Steve, you used to hear mobile responsive. Mobile responsive is dead. You should not hear that from your designer or UI UX designers at all, right? They should not even say mobile first. That's gone too.
Yeah.
Now you have to look at the technical profile of the devices people are using. And you have to make it iPhone first, Galaxy first, Pixel first, depending on, because the thing is, Rapid 2X clients come from all throughout the world. We have e-com owners from Netherlands, from Denmark, from Norway, we have Australia, we have US, we have Canada, all over the world. They come to us, and their markets are US, their markets are Australian e-commerce, New Zealand, and so on and so forth, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have to look at the technical profile, the device profile of what that traffic is that's coming to your site. And if you are doing ads like Meta ads and Google ads, you are definitely going to drive a lot of mobile traffic. It's not going to be desktop, right?
Yeah.
So I have asked the Rapid 2Xers to completely ignore the desktop design, completely. Like, it should be desktop responsive. How about we do that? We do that like it's like a secondary thought. Like, even the tablet should be secondary to that list. And your primary goal should be, like, if you're in the US and your market is the US, it should be iPhone first. And you should make sure that every page that you have on your e-com site, your product page template, your collections pages, your home page, your About Us page, everything needs to be optimized for the UX on mobile, for that mobile consumer.
Yeah.
And with it comes decisions now you have to make, because it's mobile, knowing that it's mobile. You have to make decisions like, okay, it's not Visa, MasterCard, American Express, Discover. Are you some kind of a sadistic person that you expect consumers to put in so many digits of the credit card, their billing address, their shipping address, expiration date, CVV, all of that's a lot of input.
Yeah.
When you have decided, looked at the data, and it clearly tells you 80% of your traffic is mobile. And in fact, if you go into Shopify, as soon as you log into Shopify admin, what is the very first module in the middle of the page at the top? It tells you what your site speed is, and how much traffic you're getting from mobile versus desktop. Right. In most cases, 70, 80% is coming from mobile, right? Yeah. That entire experience needs to be optimized for that, including down the line decisions like even mobile payment needs to be prioritized. On an iPhone, it should be Apple Pay. On Google-based devices, looking at whether it's a Samsung or Google Pixel, it should be a Google Pay or Samsung Pay. PayPal should be a good backup there. If you're in a higher price point, offer the installment plans, for example. Mm-hmm. But all of those things need to be highly, highly optimized for the mobile experience. No longer like mobile friendly, words like mobile friendly, mobile responsive. That's all garbage.
Yeah. One thing I would add too, I'm totally in agreement about having mobile payment options. I know Shop Pay, which is kind of Shopify's kind of take on that. I think, and I've done some research, and I think Shopify's even publicly put things out into the wild and saying, hey, even brands that have Apple Pay or Google Pay on, or even Amazon Pay, I thought they finally got into a relationship with Amazon and allow that to be turned on, and also had Shop Pay. Shop Pay has significantly higher adoption rate because so many people are using the Shop app to track their packages. And because they have the Shop app running on their phone, they automatically have a wallet created, and it makes it so easy. Even my wife even knows. She knows the second that she's on a Shopify store. It makes it so easy where literally you just click one button. Sometimes it asks you for like a 6-digit code, a text message comes through quickly, boom, but then everything is already, it's card vaulted, it's already secure somewhere in Shopify's ecosystem. Yep. And I know that having one dedicated button for checkout, desktop or mobile, really does take that friction away.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, I think from my perspective, since I've been in the game for such a long time, right? Shop Pay was a brilliant idea. I mean, it's working really well. It's similar to like the Amazon Prime experience, right? But it's for the D2C channel, not a marketplace. And I think if I were to fast forward, if I had a magic 8-ball to tell you, where Shopify is going with that, I can see that happening with a Shopify marketplace in the future, because they have been reporting, as you know, they've been reporting about holiday sales and stuff like that. Yeah. And I see that like the D2C brands that are hosted on Shopify would be able to take benefit of this Shop Pay marketplace where they can actually compete against like the likes of Amazon Marketplace,
Yeah, that was definitely, when I was inside the company, that was confidential information. But now that I'm external and don't have any kind of gag order, that is an absolute truth about what Shopify is working on and building right now. Even though that, they love the entrepreneurial experience of having an independent brand outside of marketplaces and having a dedicated home. And I know you and I are both in alignment there. But on the flip side, though, you kind of want to sell where the customers are. And that's why, when you have this kind of multi-channel experience, you're doing it on purpose. Doesn't mean selling everything on Amazon, but it means sprinkle some of your products over there and see the kind of traction you get. A lot of times Amazon just comes up in organic search because they're so powerful. It doesn't mean having all your products there, because people are like, oh, that's a great pair of shoes. I never really thought about that. And all of a sudden they're looking you up direct and then buying directly from you because they want to hear the true brand story. So, but to answer your question, yeah, Shopify is definitely working on the fact that they want to have a dedicated marketplace and checkout through Shop Pay. That's definitely being iterated over time, almost like a super app of, that's why it's the Shop app. And it's just, that's where you go and shop in North America. So that's happening.
Yeah. I mean, I see it because the thing is I've dealt with it. So let's move into the second part of the performance optimization dimension, right?
Absolutely.
The second part is, so that was like week one of performance optimization. By the way, tool of choice for me there is GT Metrics. It's a phenomenal piece of software, right? You plug in your site, it combines a lot of the performance optimization, performance monitoring audit tools into one, and it gives you a letter grade and it tells you exactly what's wrong with the site. And then you work with a web developer to get those things fixed. Heavy product images or site images and lazy loading of images and videos, things like that. You implement as part of those optimizations. Then we move into that. By itself gives a tremendous growth. As soon as they do that, the rapid 2Xers do that, they see a huge bump up in their revenue. And there are brands that even smaller, some small brands also join our program because they want to get the foundation right.
Yeah.
Right. And prior to the program, they would go probably weeks without revenue, or even certain days like they have no revenue to show for it. Right. I'm talking about now this is the lower echelon. Our average tends to be $1 million plus per year revenue for rapid 2Xers. But we do have people who are in that $100K to $1 million mark. They're trying to grow to that point. So they want to implement the right foundation, the rapid 2X foundation with 8D method. So as soon as they do that, one interesting thing they see is now they had steady traffic. It was just not converting. As soon as they pass this first week, they see that, consistently now every day I'm getting revenue now, right? And it's a great feeling when you are in that lower, less than $1 million mark, right? That when you start seeing this momentum happening on a daily basis, that you're getting a couple of orders every day, it's pretty exciting,
Absolutely.
But on the other side of it, that's the kind of the smaller rapid 2Xers, but the more of the median rapid 2Xer sees a sizable chunk of improvement in their revenue and in their average order. That's the other thing. Not only session duration goes up, average order goes up, right?
Absolutely.
And it's just all those things start working. And it's funny, we have not even touched Meta ads and Google ads. You know what typically happens there? Steve, somebody says, oh, you know what? My ad people told me that in this first week, they did something to improve the ads. I said, they didn't do anything. You did something with the performance. The site is performing better. That's why magically their ROAS went up,
Right.
Even though we didn't touch the ad accounts at all. We didn't touch it. We didn't change any creative. We didn't do anything. Week one was strictly root. Let's go to the root, which is landing pages on our site. Fix that, right? And that's a huge improvement. Second week, then we focus on customer segmentation, email marketing, and SEO, right? Well, you have customers. Do you know your customers? So recency, frequency, monetary value, and lifetime value, right?
Right.
And for a lot of businesses, what it is that the challenge is that they have heard of these things, but they don't know what it is, They don't know what recency means and what to do with it, let alone, right?
Yeah.
They don't even know, they have not even measured those things in their own business. So when we go through second week and we do this customer segmentation, recency, frequency, monetary value, and lifetime value, now they have a better picture of what their business looks like. And unfortunately, before pre-Rapid 2X, most of the businesses, 70 to 80% of their customers are one-hit wonders.
Yeah.
So Steve, if you know Macarena, Asereje, all these songs that were one-hit wonders, right? So our customers who come in, you acquire them, you work hard, you acquire them through Meta ads and Google ads and so on. They're one-hit wonder. It was just one transaction. They didn't buy anything else. Only like maybe 15, 20% of that database of the CRM is a repeat customer. 80% tend to be, 70 to 80% tend to be one-hit wonders, right? Because there was one, since you didn't understand what RFM was, right? Let alone not understanding what to do with retention strategy, right? People overemphasize acquisition strategy so much, right? They go like, oh, I want to know my ROAS. I want to get a good ROAS. Everybody told me about ROAS, right? Like that's the thing. You see it on all the YouTube channels and increase your ROAS. It's great. Your ROAS is great. You brought these people in. You didn't do anything with them.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So where is your retention strategy, right? You bought a piece of software like Klaviyo, which is an incredible piece of software, right?
Right.
You are not doing anything with the flows. Might as well use MailChimp. you know?
Exactly. Yeah.
So that's the kind of challenge there. Like you have invested in these amazing things. It's like going and buying a BMW to do pizza delivery. Like it's nonsense. You won't do that. It doesn't make sense. Why are you doing that with your business? Don't do that with your business either. You have very powerful pieces of software. Shopify is an incredible piece of software.
Right.
With especially now they opened up Shopify Flow as an app for all the other plans. Before it used to be reserved for Shopify Plus. Now it's available for other plans. Right. Incredible piece of software, right?
Yeah.
Marketing automation, Klaviyo, all the conversion pixels that you could install from the sales channels like Google and Facebook. Incredible things. It's just that if you don't know how to benefit from it, what are you going to do? You're going to do very basic install or not even install it correctly or not even do anything with it.
Yeah. Yeah, you hit the nail on the head about the RFM modeling, because that's one of the concepts that I would bring up to the businesses that I managed when I was inside Shopify. I was saying, like, kudos to you that you have product market fit. You're on Shopify Plus, so you're over $1 million in annual revenue. Some are doing 10 to 15. Some I have a lot of over $100 million a year. But the thing was with them, they didn't really have a process or systems in place to say, okay, so if somebody was to buy product A, what's the likelihood and the time frame? That's where the RFM comes in, recency, frequency, monetization. It's like understanding that if you're buying product A, what's the time frame statistically when they're going to buy product B? And then how are you reaching out to these prospective buyers for product? Because once again, the acquisition cost is zero on the second sale and the third sale. And that's where all the money is. Because a lot of times you say the ROAS is one thing. Okay, fair enough. But a lot of brands net zero, if you're lucky. A lot of times you're negative margin on the first transaction in some cases. Depends on how if you're going down the influencer road and you're kind of pay for performance kind of side of it, then I think it could be net positive. But to really make money, it's exactly what you said. Like, how do we get the second and third sale? And then how do we strategically market to individually one-on-one personalization saying, hey, Frank, we know you bought these shoes, but we believe that you need this next because we have the data to prove the fact that people that bought these shoes later in their journey bought this. We believe you're also going to buy this, and we're going to market that to you. It's like, I'm a cat person. Don't send me dog ads, right? It's the same kind of thing. So what's your feedback on that sort of strategic one-on-one marketing, understanding the data and saying, how do I get that second or third sale?
The thing is, with e-commerce, it's all about data. You have so much incredible amount of data about that consumer. If you're using a platform like Klaviyo, right? And that's typically coupled with Shopify, right?
Yeah.
And if you're using that, every part of behavior, not only the actively inputted data that the consumer gave you, like their order, first name, billing address, shipping address, all that. You also have all the behavioral data that you could trigger things on, right? Mm-hmm. I'm like a kid in a candy store with those two pieces of software, right?
Yeah, uh-huh.
When you have that, and if you are reaching out to the consumer at the right time, with the right message, personalized at that level,
right?
you're looking at 36-1 conversion rate difference. 36-1, not 3.6. I want to make sure that the audio is coming through fine. 36.
Yeah.
3 times 10 plus 6, 36.
Yeah.
36-1 difference when you are sending that message, whether you're doing it through email or SMS. SMS would have a higher return also, right? Meaning that click-through rate and better KPIs.
Right.
I would use that definitely. And here's the interesting part. This is what happens, right? Your audience is going to listen to this and they say, oh, Sabir and Steve said we should do flows. We're going to do flows. And then they go and do that flow. As soon as the order is placed, send this message out. And what is that typically that message? That typical message is, welcome to our community, blah, blah, blah. Here's our social connection, blah, blah, blah. Right?
Yeah.
Your data has shown me that 80% of your customers are one-hit wonders. What are you doing with all this feel-good stuff,
Yeah.
Here's the thing about the consumer psychology, right? The consumer had a little bit of a doubt that they wanted to buy this other thing on your site. They ended up buying this one thing, but they wanted to buy this other thing, but they were not sure. They just need that little nudge. My first email that goes out to confirm that order that they placed, asking them for a second order.
Yeah.
And showing them, you were talking about personalization, right? And doing this one-to-one marketing. Showing them exactly the thing that they ignored, that they should be interested in. And now, depending on your margin, depending on if you are a discount brand or if you are a luxury brand, there are many different strategies for that, right?
Right.
If you're a discount brand and you do give coupons out, you could put some sort of a special offer on that and go like you have 24 hours to add this thing on. And on the shipping side of it, if you're intelligent, you would ship both of those items out in one shipment instead of 2 shipments, because there's a shipping cost, logistical cost to having 2 separate orders versus one order with 2 units in it, because of that initial 1 pound of weight,
Right.
So there are decisions like that you can make that are intelligent about that kind of stuff, right? And when it comes to personalization, 36-1, Steve, 36-1. Wow. When you have those sort of odds, that's 36-1 is 36 ROAS.
Yeah.
Right? If you want to understand ROAS, because everybody obsesses about ROAS, right?
Yeah.
36-1, if you have those odds, why wouldn't you do that? Like, that's from my experience from actual data for 25 years and more recently, even from year to date, from January through end of September, where we are recording this right now.
Right. Yeah. What's interesting too, I find a lot of kind of like easy wins I have for brands that already have market fit, like you're talking about, like, close to $1 million or more in revenue, is adding something to their flow. It could be a post-purchase kind of upsell. It could be, there's like tools out there like Reconvert or even like Rebuy Engine. These guys are phenomenal at post-purchase upsells and cross-selling that's happening. Yep. Or even like the thank you page optimization. Like, what are you trying to do here? The customer has made an emotional decision to buy from you. And so they're in the best state of mind possible. And so why not modify the thank you page to sign up for social media or to offer a second one at 25% off. So the average order value goes up and, or, hey, you forgot to add this. And there's AI tools now that do this sort of stuff. And literally, like, you just click a button, bang, turn it on and select the campaign, how you want it to work. So yeah, it's really cool.
Yep. So that's customer segmentation. Like, even so, one thing with the email marketing, one of the things that, like, one of the sins of e-commerce entrepreneurs is what I call spray and pray email campaigns.
Yeah, yep.
Spray and pray email campaigns are, to kind of define it, is, oh, we have the sale coming up. How many people we have in our email database? We have, insert the number, 10,000, 25,000, 100,000, 500,000. Yeah. Are we going to be notifying them? Yes. Yeah. So send that message out to 500,000 people or 5,000 people, right? And then they send that same message out, and when I'm observing these businesses, going like, why do you think 500,000 people are the same, right?
Right.
If I look in your own household, if you are 3 brothers, you 3 are very different, let alone strangers,
Right.
So why are you why you're treating everybody the same and their journeys are not the same.
They're not.
You have prospects in there that have never bought from you ever, ever. And some of them you acquired yesterday, some of them you acquired, 13 months ago.
Right.
Why are you treating prospects, strangers, the same way, let alone a one-time buyer versus a 17-time buyer, right?
Yeah.
And people who last time they bought 13 months ago, 18 months ago, that was the last purchase they did, right?
Yeah.
Versus one-hit wonders in there, right?
Yeah.
And your VIPs. Everybody's the same?
No.
Then you go like, what can we do in Klaviyo? Are we looking at the right KPIs? Yeah, Klaviyo did its job. They built an amazing SaaS software. They're doing the right thing.
Yeah.
The person who's not doing the right thing in this equation is you.
Yeah,
right?
the marketer, 100%.
Yeah. No spray and pray campaigns, please. And even if you have the same message, your subject line, how you address that group will be very different.
Right.
Starting from the subject line, that's your open rate.
Yeah.
Right. And if your subject line is not right and you're not talking to this consumer that's an VIP, and you go like, I know you kind of love us, maybe.
Yeah.
In order to hit everybody, like you know how you put stuff into ChatGPT, the earlier versions, it would just give you just some kind of a random non-committal statement.
Yes.
That's what I see with a lot of subject lines with spray and pray campaigns.
Yeah.
When you have the power of one-on-one marketing, right? And if you want to learn more about one-on-one marketing, definitely pick up a book, any book by Seth Godin. He's incredible, right? He's like the father of personalization and one-on-one marketing, right? And you can learn quite a lot from his books, like Purple Cow and so many other great books he has written over the past years,
Yeah.
So you have to utilize that. One, you have to identify your RFM and understand what's in your database and who's in your database. What are they doing? And then from there, whenever you have these campaigns up, and especially with the holiday season coming up, should you do a sneak peek? I mean, we're getting into that prime spot right now.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yep.
Starting October 15, you better have your plans ready to go, right? You execute the Q4. Should you sneak peek your Black Friday sale to your VIP customers, not all customers, your VIP customers, to give them early access so that they can do their early buys into private sale and stuff like that, right? There are things like that are at a strategic level that you need to be prepped for when it comes to like customer segmentation. And this is not just about the Q4 holidays. It's every single day, 365 days. And then it just elevates itself even more during the key holidays like Mother's Day and Valentine's Day and the summer barbecue. And depending on what your brand celebrates or what the products you sell celebrates, right?
Right.
Aligning with that sort of a calendar. And then the third part of that optimization in that second week is SEO, search engine optimization. And search engine optimization, and typically, and I'm amazing friends with Neil Patel, right? And he's a well-known entity in the SEO
100%.
and content marketing world,
Yes.
right? So one side of SEO is make Google happy so that you are happy, you're ranking well. Since in week 1, you did the site optimization, your rankings are going to start improving. But understanding at the core of it, the right type of content. And in the world of AI, SEO has become even more relevant, and it has gotten a rebirth, right? So it's not like, people are saying, oh, since we have AI, does SEO make sense? Yeah, it makes a lot more sense because you need to generate context, for AI to understand. And if your brand is not building the right context as an e-com brand, you are not going to be relevant in that one answer that the Google SEO is going to give. Now it's no longer about pages and pages of, search results that you click on and you go on a discovery mission. The Google AI is giving you the specific answer that's highly relevant to the question that you're asking. So long tail optimization becomes even more important in the world of SEO, right? And the other part of SEO that most people don't understand is that when you are following SEO strategies for on-site SEO and you're optimizing your site, what it does is it also sets up your e-com site for accessibility. Steve, there are 75 million Americans in the United States that are considered disabled.
Right.
Americans with disabilities, right? 75 million. When you're not doing SEO and you're worrying too much about SEO ranking and stuff, the thing is you're also neglecting a market of 75 million Americans also.
Yeah, that's very true.
That's a real number. That's a sizable chunk of people that you're ignoring and you're not addressing at all, where you are alt tags and image text and stuff like that, that people who are using reader devices and other types of devices, listening devices, because of their disabilities, that they're using that to hear that. And if nothing exists there, your conversions are not going to be that great from that community either.
I'd also argue too that I think there is, a legal mandate around this ADA, and CCPA. And
there's all these Target with their lawsuit.
Exactly. And these aren't just ambulance chasers. Like this is like, and they certainly go from the top down. Yeah, there's some, some frivolous lawsuits and stuff about, not having a great usability, but there are tools out there like UserWay, or there's a few others
Accessibly
out there. Accessibly, yeah, that can be added on that really can enhance and improve a website. I think I'm using, I use Sienna even on my own site, but at the end of the day, I totally agree with you. That's just another, I think this show is showing that there are some really easy wins that can happen right away with your existing business. And part of it is this web accessibility and the speed side of it, and meta tags, and then maybe even, and just how you're producing content for people and how they're able to view it and how they're able to check out. Like, it's so interesting that you've thought of that, because that's one area that I've not thought about accessibility as being a driver for revenue. But clearly there's all these, 75 million people that are self-identifying as being disabled in some form, and they still could be shoppers.
Right? They are shoppers. Frank truth, You know what it is? I think at the root of it, Steve, is that, most entrepreneurs like the glam of, sexy ideas, right?
Of course.
Sexy ideas that look great, that sounded great. They want to go and they want to do that, right?
Right.
And then the implementation tends to be what I call butchery, right? They butcher it, right? It's like they make huge, gigantic changes, like a butcher cuts the meat, But the AT method, that's where it differs, right? Things that I'm talking about are extremely boring. They are, right? They are extremely boring things. Like, there's nothing sexy about them. Yeah. However, what sexy is, your bank account is going to be pretty heavy and hefty,
Yes, absolutely.
It's going to be nice. So that's one part of it. To counter the butchery, think about laser surgery, right? Become a surgeon, not a butcher, right? When it comes to e-commerce, and this is one lesson that I want to also give at this moment to the entrepreneurs, is that when you are making changes, don't make drastic changes. Sometimes making very specific, very intentional, very thoughtful changes matters, right? When you are testing, like a simple question like, what's the right subject line for our email campaign, right?
Yeah.
The answer may not be, the copywriter will give us, the copy, or the VP of marketing is going to give it to us because she doubles up as a copywriter, right?
Yeah.
The answer should be, well, Klaviyo allows me to do A/B testing. Let's figure out we have enough data, in our database, right? That we have enough customers so we can mail this to. Let's do an A/B test. Let's send 10% of people this subject line, 10% get this subject line. Whichever one has a certain KPI, open rate, conversion rate, whatever, in a 6-hour period or whatever, then take that winner and send it to 80% of the file, right? That's the right answer. Very boring, right?
Yeah.
But very effective.
Yeah.
When these businesses, one thing that I always advise rapid 2Xers is to be patient.
Yeah.
We see ridiculous growth. And what I shared with you earlier, Steve, was 103.34% uplift, incremental revenue in 21 days. That's a ridiculous growth, right?
Is. Yeah.
But very purposeful and very intentional things that we do during those 3 weeks. We do 5 tasks each week. So 15 tasks in total.
Right.
And the compliance level, by the way, meaning that the amount of the level of implementation tends to be around 60%. So they're not even doing 100% implementation of these 15 things. 5 per week, right? They're doing only 60% or they're doing 60% to my taste,
Yeah.
but they still see 103.34% uplift in their incremental revenue. And it's compounded because the changes you did to your site to improve your site speed, that you're not giving it back. It's not like paid media, right? That if you stop paying, you stop playing.
Yeah.
In this case, when you make that improvement to the landing page and it's delivering faster and it's optimized for better conversion and stuff like that, you're not giving that back. That works on from that day on. It's going to work for the next 365 days, and so on.
Yeah, I have this actually on my wall. It's sort of ironic you mentioned this, but because, when I was merchant facing with Shopify, one of the things we talked about is like this incrementality and how we can actually make a difference. And on my wall, I have like these 6 steps that say about doing an A/B test. And, a nail on the head. This is what mine says on my wall. It says focus on one change at a time to clearly identify what impacts the results. That makes sense. You clearly articulated that. Ensure that your sample size is large enough for statistical significance. That makes sense. Run test for an appropriate duration to account for the differences in traffic patterns. Okay, fair enough. Analyze both the quantitative, that's the conversion rate, and then the qualitative feedback. And then you said it perfectly. It's consider the long-term impact of these changes, not just immediate results.
Exactly. Let me add on one more thing to that,
okay.
Steve.
I love it.
Oh, the goal for Rapid 2Xers, they go like, can you give me a goal that I can follow, whether I'm in Rapid 2X or beyond that, right?
Mm-hmm.
One basic rule, 1% improvement every day in one KPI. Whatever KPI you want to choose, 1% improvement. What happens to that business if you start that on January 1st? What happens on that December 31st if you do that every single day? And I know that, look, entrepreneurs work every day of their lives, but let's give them their weekends off, right? It's not 365 days. Because if it was 365.25, that would mean that business will grow 36.5x in 1 year. If you do 1% improvement, that keeps on compounding.
Right.
Let's get this entrepreneur on a vacation, take some holidays, take some sick days, take some, mental health days and everything. So there are 220 days left. So that's a 22x improvement in that business. We are all humans. We make bad decisions. We make mistakes. Let's cut that number in less than half. You can take a Shopify business and in a 1 year's time, you can at least 10x it.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. The thing is, it's being methodical and it's being the 1% improvement. Like one of the other things I used to say to my team, like every day when I show up to my work, I want to do a great job, right? Whether I'm working with my own brands or I work with Rapid 2Xers, at the end of the day, I want to ask myself, did I do a great job? Do I want to keep myself or do I want to fire myself? Right?
Yeah.
And the criteria for it is that 1% improvement.
Yeah.
Like if you have that mindset stepping in at 8 a.m. in the morning or 9 a.m., whenever you start your work, when you sit there, you go like, okay, you know what? I'm going to focus on the product page. I want to improve my add to cart. Just one KPI, not conversion rate, just add to cart.
Right.
I want to improve my add to cart by 1%. That's it. That's all I want to do. And Steve, since you have been playing this game for a while too, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not a 1% improvement you're going to get. When you obsess about that and you make those changes, you're going to get 8%, 9% improvement.
Yeah.
Now that 8% is going to fix any other future mistakes you're going to make where you're not going to get a 1% improvement,
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, that number, you can get it. And we have done that, like with Ashley Stewart example, it went from less than $3 million annual e-commerce revenue to 30 million in 2 years.
By following these systems.
Yep. And in 2024, Oram Brothers started with us. I think it was the first or second week of January. It was second week because I went on a cruise at the beginning of the year. So with my family. So second week when we came back, we started with Oram Brothers. Oram Brothers is a Netherlands-based men's jewelry brand. They make these amazing men's bracelets and stuff like that, right? Yeah. They started with us. The backstory to them is their revenue was stuck at 1.5 million and they just kept on spending. That meant that basically their net profitability became negative. right?
Yeah.
Meaning that the business, there was no cash flow anymore. It was negative cash flow. They were taking loans out from the bank. And there are a lot of your listeners that are going through a similar kind of a situation right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
They started with us, went through the Rapid 2X of first, I think it was like 10 days or something, 75% improvement, right? They just kept on going. They finished the Rapid 2X program and they continued on to become a private client, which is our Hyper 10X program. And we continued that momentum, continue to grow it, doing really well. On September 9, 2024, on that day, I think it was like 1 p.m., we beat full year 2023. Yeah. So think about when I tell you September 10 through December 31st of this year would be considered incremental growth. The entire revenue, all of it, every single penny, would be incremental growth for that brand, right?
Yeah.
And that's the power of the 8D method, that it is a compounded effort. You have to the founders and the team are obsessed about what are we working on this week, right? There is no monthly plan. There is no quarterly plan. That's all bullshit. If you are operating your business on those kind of things, those are not attainable goals. The timeline of e-commerce is very rapid. Like the stuff that you do this week matters next week, right?
Yeah.
So the things that you do this week to affect change, that you have those improvements, that 1% improvements for the 5 days you work, Monday through Friday, are going to start compounding every single day that they're in operation. So every day is a good day for you to make a change, a positive change in your business, right? And it compounds. And Aurum Brothers is a perfect example of that. And there are many others.
Yeah.
Globetrotter is a brand that has existed since 1897, right? They're a global brand. They make luggages, top ends. Like their minimum price is like 1,500 British pounds sterling, right?
Right.
So really expensive. They are the luggage maker of the brand 007, James Bond, right?
Yeah.
So that so brand, cool. Okay?
Yeah.
So they were stuck from an e-commerce standpoint. They have global e-commerce, but they have 3 sites, one in the US, one in the UK and Europe, right? Yeah. And the third one in Japan. And the head of e-commerce there, who was participating in the Rapid 2X, wanted to implement the Rapid 2X in 3 different markets to understand, is it a cultural thing that because Sabir is from New York and he's an American from United States, is this just for America? No, it's not actually. I've been in global e-commerce also quite a lot, Yeah. So no, the answer was no, because in their case, 333% sales surge across 3 continents, right? And so language barrier, currency difference, cultural difference doesn't matter, right? With the stuff that we do is so fundamental to the business that it just grows. It grows really well. And it's not just a jewelry business or fashion business or personal care or vitamins and supplements and women's brand and men's brand. And there are, Aurum Brothers, they're based in Netherlands. Their market is US, right?
Yeah.
We have Walleen, which is another brand. They're based in Netherlands and their number 1 market is Australia. And they had 88% uplift in their revenue. Yeah. And they continue growing.
It's funny you bring up some of these case studies, and what I'm doing while you were speaking is I went to their websites, the Aurum Brothers, that's AURUM brothers.com. And I went to one of their products. And then I also went over to globe-trotter.com just to kind of take a look to see. And there are some similarities, and I can see why it is that both of these sites do as well as they do. They're following a lot of kind of what I would call best practices. One thing I noticed right away was having the option for push notifications popped up as a way of engaging with your customers and building a way to be able to communicate directly with someone through the web browser. I thought it was interesting. I also noticed a timed pop-up. It didn't get nailed instantly. It was either timed or it was a scroll pop-up. And I thought it was quite interesting to be able to acquire an email address. I think there was even a second step to get the social handle. And so I thought that was quite interesting. And then I also noticed that...
by the way, the timing of it matters there. It does. Yeah. When it came up, that's part of that, the mechanics of it that you need to get right. Because the thing is, if you pop it up too quickly, that negatively affects and
Correct.
increases your bounce rate, right?
Yeah.
Even your email quality from that collection is going to be very poor.
Yeah.
So prospects converting into first purchase is going to matter in that scenario.
Yeah. Other thing I noticed too, and then we'll go, I have another question I want to ask you in a minute, but I just noticed too, things like, I love the fact that they have all the trust seals on there about the shipping. And I think that's really important about the refund guarantees and things like that. Other things that you may like. I think it's a nice kind of a cross-selling opportunity. I love having video on the PDP page. I love having customer reviews on the PDP page. I love that they continue to tell the Arm Brothers story as part of a long form. It almost seems like every single product page is a long form sales page, really telling the story, the collection it belongs in, and it just lets people scroll down and really enjoy even pictures from their community through social media. Really, really well done. And I can find it exactly the same thing when I go to Globetrotter. They're doing identical of social proof and being able to branch out into other different collections of products where that's related to, or how to enhance your journey, they call it. It's so interesting, and I can see why both of these sites have done well. You have lots of other case studies, but kudos to this program.
Yeah, Steve, let me tell you, the 1.7 seconds that I just mentioned to you earlier, for between both of these and across the board for all the Rapid 2Xers, this is what I call 1.7 seconds of micro commitment. And you hit it on the head. You said, oh, this looks like a very long storytelling, interesting, right?
Yes.
When you put Lucky Orange, which is a heat map type of a software, and it also records your sessions, right?
Yeah.
When you put this on these pages, literally it starts with a hot orange color heat map, and all the way down to the bottom, it keeps that red color. Versus for a lot of sites, when you run Lucky Orange, and if you have not optimized it correctly and you don't have this 1.7 seconds of micro commitment every time you swipe up for the next piece of content, the next piece of content, the next piece of content, right? If you don't get that 1.7 seconds of micro commitments every single time it's swiped up, you're going to lose people. That's when it's going to go from orange to blue. Basically, blue means it's dead, meaning that nobody's going there, right? So that's how, for all of these pages, that's where the art and science have to come together, right? Yeah. The science part of it is brought to you by Lucky Orange, right? Lucky Orange, you install that. It tells you exactly where people are falling off, and you make the right adjustments. The art part of it is the beautiful storytelling and marketing storytelling. That's another dimension in the 8D method about, marketing is about storytelling, and it's not just, spending a bunch of money on creative and on paid media.
100%. I think the brand story is really important. I think that's, people shop with places that they know, like, and trust, but they want to understand kind of what's the social footprint of this particular brand. Are they environmentally friendly? What's their hiring practice? You want to hear everything about them, because in a sea of sameness, people just don't want to buy it. They want to know the real story behind the product that they're getting involved with. And that's why you buy what you buy. I mean, you think of like leisure wear, for example, or the yoga wear. People just don't go to Lululemon and just instantly buy that because they're like the notable player in the marketplace. There's lots of other players out there that have a much better brand story than Lululemon and are gaining market share in a growing kind of like athleisure kind of, wear. So it's so interesting market.
I mean, but frankly, here's the thing, right? As a consumer, Steve, yourself, right? You never see an ad and go like, oh my God, I love this ad so much, I'm going to go buy this thing right now.
I know.
Right?
No.
That never happens, right?
Right.
But the thing is, every e-commerce marketer and the ad agencies that they work with, their assumption is that's what's going to happen. Right?
Yeah.
That's the assumption. That's where the term ROAS comes from, return on advertising spend, without looking at retargeting opportunities, right? When, okay, you brought this audience in, you thought it was a qualified traffic. When they came to the site, right? What happened? 65% of them on average bounce. That means every 100 people you bring in, 65 of them immediately decided this was not for them. They leave, right?
Right.
So 35 of them stayed on. Okay, what did these 35 people do? That's where the retargeting pixels come in, right? Where you put in your retargeting based on behavior. Did they look at a product and abandon it? Did they add to cart, but then they abandoned it? That's the famous the infamous cart abandonment series that everybody obsesses about, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Did they go to the checkout page, but something didn't sit well with them? They abandoned the checkout, right?
Right.
Or they actually made a purchase. What does the post purchase look like, right? And did you hit them up and nudge them a little bit more to make a second purchase immediately, right?
Yeah.
Looking at this behavior, these 5 things is where you're going to get that kind of an engagement, and you're going to get a great results from that.
Yeah, this is amazing. So let's talk about, I know we talked before recording today, but if those that are listening, if this resonates with them, and it resonates with me, I'm on page 3 of notes just on today's recordings. That means a lot. And usually I only do 2 pages. So I'm on 3rd page right now. I've written a lot down here because this is really powerful. It's nice that you've put this in a framework that says, hey, you got 21 days to execute on this, and we're going to make you accountable for doing this sort of work. But at the end of the day, if you follow this process, this 8D method through the Rapid 2X program, and I'm not trying to pitch this thing, but it's just like, at the end of the day, it sounds like you've organized it in a framework that's achievable week by week. And after 21 days, all of a sudden, wow, life can be different for you as a business owner or a marketer. And so what's the offer that you want to share with our listeners today, so that if people are interested in saying, hey, what is this Rapid 2X? You've kind of heard a little bit about it today. Where can they learn more about it? And then what sort of offer were you going to share with our listeners?
So what I would like to offer your listeners, and Fastlane listeners are amazing, by the way. Steve, you have done an amazing job. With the quality of content that you bring to your audience is incredible, right? So that's what we wanted, to actually put something in front of them as a next step for them to follow up on. So you can include that in the show notes.
Okay.
It's growthbysabir.com/Fastlane, and it's a special offer just for Fastlane listeners. And when they go to that and see if it's a good fit for you, right? For your e-com business.
Yeah.
And you get on that discovery call with my team, you can mention code FASTLANE.
Right.
We'll give you $500 off of the Rapid 2X program. And the return on that, I actually have my own metric called return on Sabir spend. It's ROS, ROSS,
Okay.
for the people who love ROAS, mine is ROS, ROSS. So when you spend that money on Rapid 2X, and because you're a Fastlane listener and subscriber, you will get $500 off of the Rapid 2X program when you join us. So definitely go to growthbysabir.com/Fastlane for you to learn more about the program and see if it's a good fit. Definitely book a call with my team. We do have we just kicked off our September program. We have, I think, one more, and my team will be better at this than I am, right? So they will tell you, I think there's one left, but it's at a prime time because of the holiday season that's coming up. So you want to get your business to be fully optimized for the holiday season, because you're going to be spending that money. You want to make sure that you're getting a good ROAS out of it. You're getting great returns on your email marketing and your overall site and everything else like that, right? So, the Rapid 2X starts the journey with Dimension 1 and to kind of get you up and fully optimized in 21 days. So it's prime time just before the holiday season to be ready for your e-com business to be ready. Yeah. And then the journey continues on beyond Rapid 2X. And that's where you start tackling Dimension 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and beyond. And the thing is, the community of all these folks like Globetrotter and Wallene and all of these guys, Aram Brothers, they're all part of that Rapid 2X network also. So that you as an entrepreneur, you want to be in a networking group where you have like-minded people who are going through this growth. They're sharing their pains and stuff like that too. So that's the other part of it. Rapid 2X is not just a program; it's also the access to the people that I have, that are Rapid 2X approved experts.
Yeah.
Instead of you spending money on the wrong things. Actually, it's interesting, Steve, just before you and I hopped on to do this right now, I received an email from someone that we had pitched a Rapid 2X program to. And I would like to read, if you allow me, I would like to read that
Sure.
that email that we received. This person is not a Rapid 2Xer yet.
Okay.
But this is the response we just got just before hopping on. It's it's fresh, if you allow me.
Absolutely.
So here we go. So I want this to be something that it's a good takeaway for a lot of entrepreneurs, you know. So I'll read it to you verbatim. I'm not going to edit anything here. So
Okay.
long story short, I've spent a ton of money on 3 companies to handle social media marketing, email, paid media marketing, etc., of which none of them did what I paid them to do, with very little results. This has been going on for a year. I am 64 and got to stop the bleeding and focus more on retirement. I'm looking for help with if there are any options I have other than selling my inventory and calling it quits. That being said, I very much appreciate your offer, but after what I've been through, the well is dry. And there's a sad emoji next to it.
Mm.
I didn't realize your fee would be that much. And it's not that much, by the way. To her, it's too much. But you should talk to my team about this.
Okay.
And especially mention the code FASTLANE for the 500 off.
Right.
I'm sure you're worth every penny. And there was a time in the past year I would have taken you up on it in a heartbeat. I'll still keep joining your sessions when I'm not in a job. They're very interesting, Donna.
Mm.
You know, this is a pretty much a recurring theme. Like when I hear from the entrepreneurs, sometimes it comes in a form of an email. Other times they're in the community post. Other times they show up to my live Q&A events where I'm answering their questions. The challenge is that in today's space, most agencies and consultants are not good enough to generate profitable results. You know, they don't understand that, like with the 8D method, it's holistic, right? We look at every angle. Like I said, things that we did just to improve site speed ends up helping everything else in the business, right?
Right.
It's crazy. Improving something in your logistics, in your order fulfillment is going to improve your ROAS on the front end.
Right.
Those things are connected. But unfortunately, a lot of agencies, if they don't have that DNA of 25 years of experience, if they don't have that experience, or their very siloed approach to, oh, we are a meta ads agency, they're not going to understand that. And unfortunately, a lot of these entrepreneurs, they spend good money on the wrong people, unfortunately, right?
Yeah.
And this is one of the things, like what I wanted to say was, it's not like the Rapid 2X definitely helps them. In 21 days, they see that improvement. And beyond that, there's a ongoing program after that too, right? Mm-hmm. Which my team can explain. I don't want to take the time right now to do it, right?
Right.
But it's also being in the same group of really intelligent people, like the network effect, right?
Yeah.
The 6-figure, 7-figure, 8-figure, 9-figure, entrepreneurs who have gone through those journeys, and they're going through the journey in Rapid 2X or beyond Rapid 2X, whether we're doing brand breakdowns or hosting them so that they can do a fireside chat and stuff like that. You want to have that sort of an access to that sort of a community, right? That's the number 2. Number 3, the third benefit is I have gone through a lot of Rapid 2X, a lot of experts, and I have fired a lot of experts in my career, right?
Okay.
The ones that have gone through and succeeded time and time again, they have become Rapid 2X approved experts.
Right.
And these are independent people that operate their own businesses, and they know how to do paid media. They know how to do email marketing. They know how to do all of every single detail of technical optimization, for whether it's technical SEO or site optimization for speed and stuff like that, right? So they have become Rapid 2X approved partners. Because the thing is, the reason I added that third piece is because I saw that entrepreneurs they would take my advice, but they give it to somebody who doesn't understand what to do with that,
Yeah.
And they would not, here's the irony, Steve, they would not tell them that they don't know how to do it. They would not implement it correctly and then say that, oh, that didn't work. But when I do the compliance and see and the audit to see if it was implemented correctly, not implemented at all, right? This is where I said to you earlier in the process that the compliance level was 60%. That's what I meant, unfortunately. So as part of that program, also getting access to my network of people, right, in different areas of expertise for you to be running an e-commerce brand, that's the other exposure that Rapid 2Xers get. That is a very high value, even more than just growing your business, because you want to be in the right community of other entrepreneurs who are who have this growth mindset, right? And also people who are actually implementing those things. And if you don't have a guy for that, I have a Rapid 2X approved guy for that, or gal,
Yeah, this is lovely. So I'm going to make sure in the show notes, I'll have links to a lot of these tools you've recommended. I'm going to have links to the Rapid 2X program. Thank you again for offering that, that $500 off. I think it really helps. And at the end of the day, there's going to be proof that the process works. And I am in complete alignment and I've seen what the 8D method actually is. I understand the process of having to go through it. And I love how you step by step want to make like 1% kind of incremental change day over day. You're going to be in a different place. So I'm going to make sure it's in the show notes. We'll get you all set up for there. I do have one final question for you. Hope I don't put you on the spot here, but because you've shared a lot. Like I said, I'm on page 3 of notes today, but if you could choose one single piece of advice and to give to an e-commerce brand owner that's listening right now, what would that advice be?
I mean, I just shared this thing with you just now, where making the right decision, right?
Okay.
And getting to the right decision and being intentional about that decision.
Okay.
And because the thing is, the irony is when someone like me shows up, in your life, in your e-com brand's life, and then you basically you're tapped out, right? You maxed out your credit card, you spent all your retirement money and savings and everything. And then I show up where I legitimately actually can help you grow your business. And you cannot even pay the small fee for the Rapid 2X program for 21 days. That's going to set you on the right path, So when it comes to the advice, have a healthy skepticism about the people you're hiring, right?
Yes.
And it's good. If you watch I will tell you, each and every one of the testimonials for the Rapid 2Xers, they start in the first 30 seconds of the video. And each and every one of them says, I was skeptic. I had a skeptic, I did not believe this because this was a ridiculous number. I would not believe, I thought it was bullshit, right?
Right.
And here we go. Here I am. I've gone through it. And this was different. This was definitely different. Because I can feel the difference,
Right.
I can feel the difference. They can see it in their bank account, that they can feel the difference. So that's the advice. And being, in a world where it's very chaotic and people want to have fast results and they want to do, most of them crash and burn because of those decisions. I think patience is the thing that I would advise. Have patience, and it coming from a guy who has been growing businesses 2x to 10x. That's my history. That's my report card, right?
Right.
And I'm advising you the best way to grow and in multiples, and following the right advice, the right strategies like the 8D method and the Rapid 2X with people like me. And there are select few people like me, like Neil Patel, myself. There are few others that are very good at what we do, right?
Right.
Making sure that you're investing in the right people, not investing in the cheap, because you could spend a lot of money in the cheap and then find out that you ran out of money. And then people like me show up and they want to help and you don't have the funds to actually go through it, and then you're going to kick yourself,
Yeah.
So
totally.
Yep. That's my advice.
Lovely. Well, thank you so much for that. So it'll be growthbysabir.com and then be /Fastlane. You can learn more about that, about the 2X program and the offer. This has been a very eye-opening, very impactful, actionable episode, to be quite honest with you. Like I said, on page 3, I've written down so many things. And it's just nice because every episode I do, I get to kind of pay it forward. I've learned a lot along the way. And a lot of it is, repetition kind of is the mother of skill. And I think you've kind of reminded me about some of the important kind of foundational parts. And I think that's where putting a mindset and a methodology around the 8D is very interesting to me as an operator and someone deeply entrenched in e-commerce. I just wanted to thank you for, number one, putting this whole program together and then offering it to the world. And the upside is that you as a brand owner, if you're listening, go check it out. No harm, no foul. It's free to check it out. You can even go, I think they even have the e-commerce growth mastermind, the kind of free community you have over at school.com, and you can kind of click through. I'll put that in the links there. lots of great resources available for those that can pay and get really right into the weeds and get things going. And there's some people that are just on the fence. There's still lots of learning. And I just want to thank you once again for coming on the show.
Thank you, Steve, for having me and letting me, lending your platform for me to share this with your Fastlane community. And looking forward to seeing a lot of those folks on the other side so we can 2X and start building up that cash flow in those businesses.
Absolutely. All right. Well, have a great afternoon.
All right. Thank you, Steve.
Well, that's it for today's episode. I'd like to thank you personally for being a loyal listener of E-commerce Fastlane. It's my hope that this podcast is offering you a ton of value through growth strategies, tactics, and exclusive insider tips on the best Shopify apps and marketing platforms, all with my personal goal to help you build, manage, grow, and scale a successful and thriving company powered by Shopify. Thanks for investing some time today and listening to the show. I'm so proud and excited that you have a growth mindset and are a constant learner. I truly appreciate you and your entrepreneurial journey. Enjoy the rest of the week and keep thriving with Shopify.